We all think of Gordan Ramsay as an extremely picky food critic, chef, but if your life's work was cooking and you saw a narcissistic restaurant manager breaking health code violations and making horrible food, you'd be pretty angry too. Reviews. He gets angry at people who should know better, but he's patient with the people he's teaching. I love my boy Gordan, but he does his series where he teaches amateurs and I would describe that as patient lol you would or you wouldn't? Edit, I've had 6 people respond yes to this already. I know I was asking for it, but please, no more yeses. My favorite video of him was of him grilling burgers at his house. He was super excited and passionate about what he was doing. I hope I showed the same level of passion in everything I do. The video where he cooked breakfast in his house was also incredibly wholesome. The one where he's cooking scrambled eggs, tomatoes, and toast, then burns the toast, right? I actually just watched that video a couple days ago and decided to try out his way of cooking scrambled eggs. Didn't have any crème fraîche, but as it's just fancy sour cream and I had some of that, I substituted it and it tasted incredible. Use that method of scrambled eggs now and it's amazing. Right? I've never been much interested in going for runny custard scrambled eggs before, but these just taste so good. It's like he says, the butter and everything just gives it a really nice silky texture, and a surprisingly nutty and almost cheesy taste even though I added 0 cheese. The thing is adding that amount of butter and sour cream but making the scrambled eggs the normal way, they'd be just as good. Yes and no. The flavor would be similar but the texture incredibly different. You're likely right, though there's something I like a lot about how it all comes together in the end and the fact it feels I have more control over how quickly it cooks with this technique that I prefer. I find myself not as worried about overcooking the eggs, also bonus points to getting a little extra arm workout while making them his way. He definitely just cares deeply about quality cooking habits. I think he's harder on chefs in Hell's Kitchen because they're working a restaurant under his name and they are supposed to be somewhat adequate chefs to be on the show, so there's higher expectations. When someone comes to him for personal reasons, he seems genuine and kind, and not just some guy spewing expletives and calling people donkeys. He seems to just care a lot. Hell's Kitchen. I think he's 100% playing up his old and well-deserved reputation for being an angry hothead on American TV. His work on British programming is astoundingly gentle, even if forthright and brutal. The F-Word and the original Kitchen Nightmares are great examples in contrast to the American shows. I miss the original Kitchen Nightmares so much, it was a much better show. My favorite episode will forever be that hole-in-the-wall Jamaican spot. Just unfortunate they were in over their heads eventually and had to close the bigger location that they decided to open after. Mama Cherry's Soul Food Shack. Absolutely classic episode. I think my other favorite is the vegetarian place in Paris. Yes. Rewatching that and then watching the Amy's Baking Company episode is jarring as hell. Haha, I live about 5 minutes from Amy's Baking Company, closed now, and after that episode it becomes somewhat of a tourist attraction that people just wanted to see how fucked up the owners of the place actually were. If they were smart and not batshit crazy, they could have monetized the crazy experience and stayed open a long time. People would have gone out of their way to see the crazy TV people hamming up the craziness instead of just being outright crazy. It could have been a fun thing. I remember I watched that episode with my friends ages ago, and I was absolutely captivated with how batshit nuts Amy, was. We must have been 18 or something at the time, but we found her on Facebook and we all decided to jokingly add her as a friend. Yeah, I don't know either. She ended up accepting my friend request a few months later. We're still friends on Facebook to this day. You can tell she's still crazy, but she does share a lot of pretty good-looking baked goods. The US show's editing really amp up his anger to hair trigger levels. I forget which scene was it, but I once saw a side-by-side comparison of how it was shown in the US and in the UK. The US version made him seem very upset with the restaurant's chef, while in the UK version it seemed much more like playful banter. That's also a lot of difference in how UK and US shows are edited. The US almost always edits shows to be as sensational as possible. The way US reality TV producers use music to change the emotions behind a situation is masterful. It's crazy how different Gordan seems with and without some dramatic music and sound effects behind him. I mean, they definitely have it down to a science, but as soon as you see the patterns it makes it fairly difficult to enjoy. You actually have to be a child to not pick up on all of it. There's no way adults watch Next in MTV and think it's real. Is that shit still even out? I'm old AF. It's called willing suspension of disbelief. Criticizing someone who watches reality shows because they're not real is like criticizing someone who watches wrestling because it's fixed. Part of the fun is pretending outlandish stories are real and being a participant in the spectacle that allows you to take sides in interpersonal conflicts without having any stake in the outcome. It's amazing how many restaurants in that show actually have really good cooks working at them that just get beaten down by the manager over and over. Yo, I remember an episode of Kitchen Nightmares, I think it was, in which a chief was a massive fan of Gordan and was crying because he knew he was about to serve Gordan a shitty menu with even shittier ingredients he had no control over. That happens in a lot of the episodes. And then Gordan will have the chef make a dish from their own mind, recipes, and it's always delicious and the owners always downplay it. I like the ones where he tells them he made it and they gush over it. Oh my god, it's delicious, our dogshit chefs could never make anything like this. Actually, your chef did make that. I had nothing to do with it, just provided some fresh produce. That must be the best fucking feeling for a downtrodden chef working in a shit place. Not only get back at your boss, but to have Gordan fucking Lamb Sauce Ramsey building you up.